Grandma's baked goods were always delicious. Every child felt that way. But our grandma wasn't a professional chef. So what was the secret that made her old-time baking so special? In today's video, we're going to reveal 25 baking secrets from Grandma's old notebook that even modern chefs would be surprised by. From using potato cooking water to knead the dough, crisping up the crust with vinegar, or carefully controlling the temperature of the cast iron skillet, every step was precise. It's all more subtle than you might think. Let's discover them now. Using potato water and yeast dough. Mashed potatoes might be the star of dinner, but the starchy liquid left over after boiling is the real secret to Grandma's bread. Instead of using plain water, the potato water is completely utilized as a substitute in the bread recipe. The natural starch in the cooking water acts as a rich source of nutrients for the yeast. This special nourishment helps the yeast work more vigorously, causing the bread to rise better, and most importantly, giving the inside of the loaf an indescribably soft and light texture. The loaf not only rises high and looks beautiful, but also retains moisture significantly longer after baking, preventing it from going stale and hard after a few days. To further enhance the softness of the interior, a spoonful of sugar or honey is often dissolved with the warm potato water before mixing it into the flour and yeast. This is a delicate combination of traditional thriftiness and accurate baking knowledge. When the piping hot bread comes out of the oven, the golden crust enveloping the soft interior is clear proof of the effectiveness of this humble baking tip. However, it's important to note that the cooking water must only be slightly warm or cool before mixing it into the dough, because hot water can kill the yeast instantly. Starting pound cake in a cold oven. Classic pound cakes, with their characteristic rich butter and sugar texture, always need a different start compared to typical sponge cakes. The secret to getting a pound cake that's soft inside and has that distinctive, beautiful cracked crust is to start baking it when the oven is cold. Instead of preheating the oven, the pound cake pan is immediately placed inside, and then the temperature is set, allowing the cake to slowly warm up along with the oven throughout the baking process. This slow, gradually increasing temperature method encourages the batter to rise slowly and evenly. This is extremely important for thick, fat-rich batters like pound cake, as it helps the cake maintain a moist and smooth texture. A steadfast rule during this process is patience. Strictly forbidden is opening the oven door during the first 45 minutes. Sudden temperature changes during this initial stage can cause the cake structure to collapse. To create a golden and crispy crust that wraps around the moist, soft interior, the pan is always thoroughly buttered and then dusted with sugar instead of flour before pouring in the batter. This layer of sugar will melt and gently caramelize, creating a perfect crust that is iconic of traditional pound cake. Greasing cornbread pans with bacon fat. Cornbread is a dish associated with cozy Southern meals, and the secret to its rich, unforgettable flavor lies in bacon fat. Grandma never used regular butter or cooking oil to grease her baking pans. Instead, she would store melted bacon fat, keeping it in jars and refrigerating it for future baking. Before pouring in the batter, she would heat the cast iron skillet until it was extremely hot, then add the bacon fat. The immediate sizzle when the pan is hot is the sound that signals a perfect start. Bacon fat imparts a rich, savory flavor with a hint of smokiness that no other fat can match. It beautifully crisps the edges of the cake and prevents sticking much better than non-stick sprays. When the cornbread comes out of the oven, the bottom and edges always an appealing golden brown, crispy, a perfect contrast to the soft, spongy interior. To add that distinctive crunch, Grandma would often sprinkle a handful of cornmeal into the hot fat before pouring in the batter to bake. This is a small trick that makes a big difference, honoring the resourcefulness in the traditional kitchen. Storing cookies with sandwich bread. The disappointment when freshly baked cookies quickly turn dry and hard is hard to describe. This is a common problem, and the solution comes from an old-fashioned but wonderfully effective trick. Using a slice of sandwich bread, instead of sealing them tightly or storing them in a regular container, bakers usually place a soft slice of sandwich bread inside the cookie jar. This simple slice of bread acts as a natural humidity regulator. It absorbs excess moisture from the air, and at the same time, as the bread starts to go stale, the moisture from it slowly transfers to the cookies. This process helps keep the cookies fresh for days longer without changing their original flavor at all. This tip is especially helpful for oatmeal or molasses cookies, which tend to dry out and harden quickly. However, an important rule to note is that this slice of bread must be changed every 2 days to prevent mold from growing. Also, it's best to choose white bread instead of whole grain bread, because white bread has less oil and won't add any strange or unwanted odors or flavors to the cookies. It's a small but effective tip, ensuring the cookies always remain soft and pliable as if they just came out of the oven, providing a complete culinary experience. Adding orange peel to brown sugar. Brown sugar is an essential ingredient for creating the deep flavor and chewy texture of many baked goods. However, it has an inherent drawback. It tends to clump easily and harden like a rock, making measuring difficult and time-consuming. To solve this problem in a subtle and fragrant way, people often use a long-term storage method, burying a few pieces of dried orange peel within the brown sugar. Choosing thoroughly dried orange peel, not fresh peel, is crucial to prevent the sugar from spoiling due to moisture and mold. The natural citrus essential oils in the orange peel gently moisturize the sugar without making it wet, completely preventing clumping and hardening. This trick not only helps maintain a loose, airy texture for the sugar, but also adds a delicate aroma, enhancing the natural flavor of the baked goods later on. You can dry the orange peel by leaving it out overnight or lightly baking it at a low temperature in the oven. Occasionally, to elevate the aroma of the brown sugar to a new level, bakers also add a cinnamon stick along with the orange peel. This combination of orange and cinnamon aromas transforms ordinary brown sugar into a premium ingredient, enriching the baking experience from simple molasses cookies to more elaborate sweet cakes. Have you ever tried adding orange peel to your sugar? Give it a try the next time you bake. It will make a huge difference. Hit hype if you've tried it and agree with this secret. Mixing pie fruit with sugar before filling. For juicy berry pies, controlling excess moisture is essential to prevent the crust from becoming soggy. Bakers have a meticulous habit to solve this problem, mixing the fruit with sugar before adding it to the pie shell. After mixing, the fruit mixture is left to rest while the crust is being prepared. This allows the fruit juices to start draining early. In this way, the baker can control the excess moisture, draining off the excess liquid or thickening it with a little cornstarch. This simple step helps create a more uniform filling, preventing a runny filling while ensuring the pie crust will be wonderfully crisp. To brighten and enhance the fruit flavor, people often add a pinch of cinnamon or lemon zest to the fruit mixture. That's how to ensure the pie crust will be crisp while the filling maintains its perfect sweetness and delightful texture. Spoon and level flour, don't scoop directly. Accuracy is the key factor in baking, and errors often start right with measuring the flour. Scooping the measuring cup directly into the flour bag is a habit that seems convenient, but actually packs the flour down tightly. This tight packing skews the measurement required by the recipe, and the result is a dense and dry baked good. To get soft and fluffy results, the most accurate way to measure, especially in times when kitchen scales weren't widely common, is to gently use a spoon to scoop the flour into the measuring cup. After the cup is filled, people use a flat edge, such as a kitchen knife, to level across the top of the cup. This definitive action creates a clean and flat flour surface, ensuring that the amount of flour measured is always exactly what the recipe calls for. This is extremely important because even just 2 tablespoons of too much flour can change the final texture of the cake. The golden rule is always to avoid packing the flour. The flour must always remain light and loose to create the perfect baked item. This precision and attention to detail in measuring is exactly what determines the difference between an ordinary quick bread and one with an ideal soft texture. Sifting dry ingredients 3 times. Before pre-sifted flour became common today, sifting dry ingredients was a required ritual a step that couldn't be skipped in the cake preparation process. Bakers believed that sifting once was not enough. The dry ingredients must be sifted not once, but 3 times. This is a crucial step for the cake to achieve the ideal lightness and smooth texture. Sifting 3 times helps aerate the flour maximally, while also evenly distributing all other dry components such as salt, baking powder, or cocoa powder. This process incorporates extra air into the flour, helping to prevent lumps and ensuring a perfectly homogeneous texture. The result is that the final cake is significantly lighter and the batter is much smoother than if it were sifted only once. After completing the 3-sift ritual, people always gently fold this dry mixture into the wet ingredients instead of stirring vigorously. This is done to avoid overmixing the batter, an action that could damage the texture, just improved by sifting and make the cake tough. This patience and meticulousness are characteristic of traditional baking artistry. Warming cold eggs in tap water. In baking, the temperature of the ingredients plays a role just as important as the recipe itself. Cold eggs, straight from the refrigerator, can cause the batter to seize up undesirably and prevent the proper emulsification of the butter and other ingredients. To quickly and safely remedy this problem, a simple trick is often used: placing the whole eggs in a bowl of warm tap water and leaving them there for about 10 minutes. In just these 10 short minutes, the eggs will quickly come up to room temperature. Warm eggs help them blend more easily into the batter, creating a smooth and consistent mixture, avoiding separation. Furthermore, eggs at room temperature whip up higher, helping to create light and fluffy sponge cakes. The most important thing is to avoid using hot water, as that can prematurely cook the eggs, ruining the ingredients. And before using them, bakers always have the careful habit of cracking the eggs into a separate bowl to check for freshness, a meticulous, essential step to guarantee quality. This small attention to temperature makes a huge difference in the final texture of the baked item. If you also grew up around those delicious baked goods in Grandma's small kitchen, please hit like and subscribe. Together, we will keep those stories alive. Bringing all ingredients to room temperature. This is considered the secret that elevates almost every baked good, and it needs to be done even before turning on the oven. It's the principle of bringing all main ingredients like butter, eggs, and milk to room temperature. People usually let the butter sit for about 30 minutes and the eggs for about 15 minutes, depending on the ambient temperature. Warm ingredients are able to mix more thoroughly and hold air better than cold ingredients. This helps the batter and dough develop the proper structure, resulting in a lighter and fluffier final cake. The elders in the family recounted that once they hurriedly used cold butter, and the consequence was that the batter separated, leading to an uneven texture and a dense center. If they forgot to prepare beforehand, they had the trick of cutting the butter into small cubes to speed up softening or placing the eggs in warm water. When the ingredients are at the same temperature, they combine more smoothly, like a choir harmonizing perfectly, creating the best cake texture. These are the lessons of harmony that traditional bakers always respected. Adding instant coffee to chocolate batter. Chocolate desserts, whether cake or brownie, benefit greatly from a small addition that makes their flavor richer and deeper. This small secret ingredient is instant coffee or espresso powder. Bakers often mix a teaspoon of instant coffee into the batter, either simply stirring it into the dry ingredients or dissolving it in a little warm water before mixing it into the liquid ingredients. The interesting thing is that adding coffee doesn't make the baked good taste like coffee at all. Instead, it acts as a natural flavor enhancer, sharpening and boosting the cocoa flavor to a new level. This is a quick way to give homemade food a more premium, deep level. The boldness of the coffee helps enhance the chocolate flavor, making the baked item much richer. To add more warmth and depth to the flavor, people can also try combining the coffee powder with a pinch of cinnamon. The warm aroma spreading throughout the kitchen when the chocolate dessert is baking is always an unforgettable memory, a complex scent that no one can quite explain. Making buttermilk with milk and vinegar. Buttermilk is an important ingredient for many baked goods that need softness and a touch of sourness like pancake or a biscuit. However, It's not always readily available in the kitchen. When a recipe calls for buttermilk and the house is out, people always have a simple and effective substitute: making faux buttermilk. Bakers will combine 1 tablespoon of white vinegar or lemon juice with 1 cup of milk. Then, this mixture is left alone for about 10 minutes. After that short time, the milk will start to curdle slightly, forming a sour mixture that mimics the acidity and consistency of real buttermilk. This acidic mixture plays a crucial role in activating baking soda, helping the baked good rise well, and softening the texture. It's ideal for making fluffy pancakes, muffins, and biscuits. To get the best texture and flavor, bakers always prioritize using whole milk. Occasionally, if they are completely out of milk, they can also use plain yogurt diluted with a little water to create this buttermilk substitute. That is proof of the flexibility and resourcefulness in all baking situations, ensuring that the baked goods can always be completed with the best quality. Adding vinegar to pie dough for extra crispness. Sometimes, the difference between a good pie and a great pie is just a little bit of vinegar. A crisp, flaky pie crust is the pride of every traditional baker. When mixing pie crust dough, people have a little secret: mixing a teaspoon of white vinegar or apple cider vinegar into the ice water before adding this liquid to the flour and fat mixture. Vinegar acts as a controller for gluten development. This is extremely important because when gluten develops too much, the crust will become tough and hard instead of tender. Vinegar ensures a crisp and soft, flaky crust. It also makes rolling out the dough easier, as the dough is softer and less elastic. After the dough has come together, bakers always advise avoiding overkneading. Equally important is to chill the dough again before baking, which helps the crust become crispier and golden brown when it comes out of the oven. This tip proves that sometimes an ingredient that seems contradictory is actually the key to achieving the perfect texture. Cooling angel food cake, upside down. Angel food cake is a delicate sponge cake that relies entirely on air for its fluffy structure and ideal height. Therefore, improper cooling can cause the cake to collapse. The secret to preserving this high structure, lofty texture, is to cool the cake upside down. Most traditional angel food cake pans are specially designed with small feet or a raised central tube. Bakers often lean this central tube against the neck of a bottle or place it on a cooling rack. Inverting the cake uses gravity to gently pull the cake down, which helps preserve the structure and prevents it from shrinking under its own weight. The most important thing is to let the cake cool completely before removing it from the pan. If removed too early, the delicate edges risk tearing. To cleanly remove the cake, people often use a serrated knife or an offset spatula. Using ice-cold water or vodka in pastry dough. The temperature of pastry ingredients can determine the success or failure of a delicate dough. Bakers always maintain strict standards regarding ingredient temperature. The trick here is to use ice-cold water or even vodka when mixing the pastry dough. Using ice-cold water helps minimize gluten development, while also keeping the butter from melting too early during the mixing process. But vodka is the most unique trick. Because vodka has significantly lower water content than plain water, it evaporates faster in the oven. This rapid evaporation creates a much lighter and crisper crust than using just water. Bakers always measure the liquid beforehand and chill it thoroughly. They also emphasize that overmixing is forbidden. To ensure success even further, it's also recommended to freeze the flour or butter as an extra safeguard for a perfect crust, especially on hot summer days. Baking icebox cake using the cold oven method. Icebox cake, traditionally frozen in the refrigerator, has an interesting and little-known baking approach. The cold oven, low-temperature baking method is applied to this layered dessert. Bakers usually start with a cold oven and keep the temperature very low throughout the baking process. Glass or ceramic dishes are typically used for this dessert. This low, gradually increasing temperature method works well for layered desserts that use cream cheese, pudding, or wafers. It allows the layers to set softly. As the temperature gradually increases, it is important to closely monitor the signs of setting because this dish is very easily overheated. After baking is finished and the cake has set, It is left in the refrigerator overnight for the best slicing results. To add a distinctive crunch, crushed nuts are often sprinkled between the layers of the cake. This is a skillful combination of traditional baking and chilling methods, creating a perfect texture for this chilled dessert. Adding cornstarch to meringue on humid days. Meringue, that delicate egg white foam dessert, is very sensitive to humidity. Moisture can ruin its structure, causing it to become watery or collapse. To stabilize this fragile treat, bakers have a special secret, stirring a teaspoon of cornstarch into the sugar before gradually adding it to the whipped egg whites. Cornstarch acts as an effective foam stabilizer. It absorbs excess moisture, helping to create a firmer hold for the foam. The result is that the glossy peaks of the meringue maintain their stiffness even in humid kitchens. Bakers always ensure that the egg whites are whipped thoroughly between additions of sugar and cornstarch. If the meringue is still soft after baking, people consider slightly lowering the baking temperature and extending the time to gently dry it out. This tip is an excellent precaution to ensure the meringue is always perfect, regardless of weather conditions or air humidity. Packing brown sugar. Completely contrary to the rule for measuring flour, brown sugar requires a special measuring method to ensure the baked good achieves the desired texture. People always carefully pack the brown sugar into the measuring cup. This is done to the extent that the sugar mound retains the shape of the cup when removed. When the brown sugar falls out as a solid, intact block, that is the sign that the amount of sugar has been accurately measured according to the recipe. This act of packing brown sugar ensures that the recipe includes the correct amount of moisture and molasses needed. This moisture is a crucial factor in creating cookies with that characteristic chewiness, soft sweet cakes, and richly flavored crumbles. Occasionally, if the brown sugar seems a bit dry or is in danger of hardening, a small tip is to add a piece of bread crust to the sugar. That tiny piece of bread crust can help retain the necessary moisture, preventing the brown sugar from hardening, keeping it in an ideal state for baking. The difference in measuring methods between flour and brown sugar is a wonderful lesson about the physical properties of baking ingredients, showing that each component has its own requirements for achieving a perfect and reliable texture. Baking yeast-free peanut butter bread. Not every loaf of bread needs yeast to rise. Peanut butter provides a surprising substitute for fat and structure, helping to create a quick and delicious bread. In this peanut butter bread recipe, people use baking powder instead of yeast. This allows the bread to be made quickly without any time-consuming proofing or kneading steps. This bread is perfect as a snack or a quick breakfast and pairs wonderfully with jam or honey. What makes it special is the natural richness of the peanut butter. This fat acts as the main shortening, adding wonderful moisture to the dough, while its natural oils keep the crumbs soft and tender. Peanut butter bread not only saves time, but also delivers an irresistible, rich, nutty flavor. An important reminder is always to let the bread cool completely before slicing to maintain a neat shape and prevent crumbling. This is a classic example of resourcefulness in creating a nutritious baked good without relying on traditional yeast. Heating the cast iron skillet till extremely hot. To achieve a super crispy bottom crust or beautiful golden edges, nothing beats the magic of a searing hot cast iron skillet. Bakers always believe that the cast iron skillet is an indispensable tool for making cornbread, biscuits, or deep dish pies. People place the cast iron skillet in the oven while the oven is warming up to preheat the pan thoroughly. When heated, the cast iron skillet holds and radiates heat extremely evenly, creating instant contact heat. This immediate heat contact mimics a professional oven floor and makes a huge difference, helping to create a crispy crust right from the moment the batter is poured in. When adding dough or batter to the skillet, the sizzling sound is the signal of a perfect start. To add that distinctive crispness, people also sprinkle a little cornmeal into the skillet before pouring in the batter. Because the skillet is very hot, thick oven mitts must always be used to avoid burns. This is a humble, traditional baking tip that creates a perfect texture for homemade bread. Dusting raisins or nuts with flour before baking. One of the most annoying problems when baking is that raisins, nuts, or chocolate chips often sink to the bottom of the loaf, leading to uneven distribution. To solve this problem, bakers had a very simple but extremely effective trick: dusting them with a thin coating of flour. Before folding these extra ingredients into the liquid batter, they are mixed with a little flour, just about a tablespoon of the same type of flour used in the recipe. This thin flour coating helps the heavier ingredients become lighter and helps them stay suspended, ensuring even distribution throughout the loaf or muffin. Bakers say this works especially well in looser batters like quick bread or coffee cake. This ensures that every slice cut has an even distribution of raisins or nuts, guaranteeing consistent flavor and texture in every bite. After coating with flour, the ingredients are gently folded into the batter right before pouring into the baking pan, dusting the bottom crust to prevent sogginess. Preventing a soggy bottom crust starts long before the pie is put into the oven. The worry about a soggy bottom crust, especially with juicy fruit pies or custard tarts, is always addressed right from the first preparation step. Bakers sprinkle a light layer of flour or breadcrumbs onto the bottom crust after placing the dough in the pan. This light dusting creates a barrier, acting as an absorbent agent that soaks up excess moisture from the filling. This absorbent layer wicks away the liquid without changing the flavor of the crust, resulting in a crispier finish. People can also use crushed graham crackers or finely ground nuts as an alternative to flour, depending on the type of filling. Furthermore, blind baking the crust beforehand is also recommended to add another layer of protection against moisture. This is a meticulous preparation step that ensures quality from the foundation, creating a noticeable difference in the crisp texture of the crust. Freezing butter wrappers to grease pans. In the spirit of resourcefulness in the traditional kitchen, even butter wrappers weren't wasted. This is an economical way to make the most of the butter residue left on the paper. Instead of throwing them away after using the butter, people carefully store them in the freezer. The side with residual butter on the paper is the perfect tool for greasing baking pans without having to cut fresh butter. When it's time to bake, a frozen wrapper is taken out. After allowing it to soften for about a minute, the side with the leftover butter is used to wipe the pan. The amount of butter remaining on the paper is enough to evenly coat cake pans, loaf pans, and cookie sheets. This action is not only economical, but also ensures that the baked good is cleanly removed from the pan without sticking. Bakers often stack them in labeled bags in the freezer for easy retrieval. This tip is also very useful for greasing measuring cups when working with sticky ingredients like honey or brown sugar. Baking bread on a cornmeal dusted stone. This technique is applied to give homemade bread a rustic crunch and better rise. Bakers always admired loaves of bread with a thick, crisp crust like those baked in a traditional stone oven. To achieve this effect, the bread is baked directly on a baking stone. The prerequisite is that this stone must be thoroughly preheated in the oven. The baking stone, when heated, holds and radiates heat evenly, mimicking a traditional brick oven floor. This gives the loaf a thick and well-developed crust. Before placing the bread dough on it, the stone is dusted with a layer of cornmeal. The cornmeal has two effects. It acts as a non-stick layer, preventing the bread from sticking to the stone, and it also serves as a texture enhancer, providing a gentle crispness on the bottom of the bread. This technique is particularly suitable for round loaves or baguette bread. People can even experiment with semolina flour to create a similar granular texture. Covering warm cakes with a cloth. As freshly baked sweet cakes begin to cool, they tend to lose moisture to the air, resulting in a dry surface. To retain that softness and moisture, people have a simple yet subtle trick. Immediately after taking the cake out of the oven and letting it cool slightly, a light, clean piece of fabric, usually a thin cloth, tea towel, is gently placed over the still warm cake. This cloth acts as an effective moisture retainer. It helps trap the steam escaping from the cake without creating excessive condensation. This keeps the surface of the cake soft, which is especially important for fluffy sponge cakes or quick breads that need to remain pliable. However, careful attention must be paid to ensure the towel does not touch any frosting or glaze that has been added to the cake, preventing smearing or sticking to the surface. This tip is similarly effective when applied to muffins and quick bread, helping them stay fresh longer. Back at these 25 secrets, they are not just useful baking tips, but also a vibrant picture of the meticulousness, resourcefulness, and boundless love of the generations before us. Be sure to save these tips and bring that resourceful spirit into your modern kitchen. Would you like to see some results from these recipes? Check out our video, 20 Forgotten Pies Grandma Made That Vanished from the Family Table. You'll see the crunchy summer blueberry pies, or Grandma's ingenious creative cakes from the Great Depression era. These warm cakes carry the flavor of memories and family affection. Thank you for our journey together. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and continue exploring this precious, nostalgic culinary trip.